We asked and you delivered. Today is all about your questions for us.
From treatment and recovery to motherhood, faith, and friendship, we're answering it all. But this is a trigger warning. We'll be talking openly about cancer, treatment, side effects from the treatment, and emotional challenges. We'll keep it real, but we'll also keep it hopeful.
So we started putting question boxes on Instagram, I don't know, maybe a month ago when we decided that we were going to do these episodes. So we have compiled a list of questions and we're just going to get right into it. So the first question is, what did treatment actually look like day to day? Chemo, surgery, radiation, side effects, etc. And I actually love this question because until I went through it, I had no idea. So for the chemo, I started out on a weekly regimen. That was and I'm doing air quotes right now when I say easy chemo. None of the chemo is ever easy, but that was easier than what I did next. So on a weekly basis, my treatments were on Thursday. They gave me steroids and Benadryl during those treatments. So I got my Benadryl nap during chemo. It was awesome. Awesome for me, but not for whoever went with me that week for treatment. I never one time ever went for treatment by myself. So that was awesome. Jordan went most of the time. Mom came, and then some of my friends would alternate going too. But it was fun. We kept it fun and lighthearted. After treatment, I would come home, and that day I still had the steroids in me. So after my Benadryl nap during chemo, would not sleep that night. I would binge watch Gilmore Girls or Friends or The Office, and I stayed awake. And then on Friday is usually when the side effects would come. I never one time through 6 months of chemo, I never threw up at all, but I felt very, very, very nauseous. I was very fatigued and just weak. It kind of felt like if you've had the flu or COVID and then like you're recovering, that weakness that you have that's sometimes worse than the actual sickness. You know what I'm talking about? That's the best way to describe it. That's kind of how it felt. So I did that I had 13 of those treatments, and then I had 4, what they call the Red Devil. That is the hardcore chemo. I went every 3 weeks. Did I go every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks? I don't even remember.
I thought it was every 3 because
think
I was
so.
even thinking it might have been 4.
No, it was 3. I'm pretty sure it was 3. This is
Okay.
funny because you think you're never going to forget this, but you do. So I went every 3 weeks for that one. Again on Thursdays, but this one knocked me on my butt the day of treatment, and I was out until probably Tuesday or Wednesday the next week. This one made me severely, severely nauseous. I never did throw up, but I almost think throwing up would have made it easier maybe. But anything that I ate during those chemo treatments, I can't eat now. It's like a pregnancy aversion to the point that I can't do it now, even now. And I'm a year and a half out from that, and some of those meals I can't even stand to think about. The first weekly chemo is when I did lose my hair. They told me that I might and I might not, and I made it 3 treatments before my hair started coming out. So I got really excited thinking like, okay, it's been 3 weeks. I may not lose my hair. I think I've got this. That's when I lost my hair. So that was hard, but I've got a funny story to share in the next episode about that. So I'll get more into that later. Surgery was a pretty rough recovery, but after coming through chemo, it was like a walk in the park. Surgery recovery, the worst part was the drains that you have to have. Once the drains came out, I felt like $1,000,000. Surgery was hard, but it wasn't harder than chemo. And then radiation was a piece of cake compared to both of those things. The most tiring part of radiation was just having to go every day because I went Monday through Friday every day for I had 24 radiation treatments. So that was exhausting because I work from home and I homeschool Taylor. And so I could go several days in a row without even leaving the house sometimes, but not then. And so that was tiring for me. And then radiation in itself comes with fatigue. And I didn't have hardly any of the side effects that they said I would have through radiation. So that was good. But day to day, that was it.
Okay, so then somebody asked, were there moments during the treatment where you just wanted to give up, and how did you keep going? When I read that, I was thinking, are you kidding me? We wouldn't have let her give up.
Well, hearing this question, I'll be honest, no, I never did. And I went into it thinking I will do everything in my power possible. If they'll give me the tools to fight it, I'm going to do it. I didn't care. I did not care what it was. I was going to do everything in my power because I did not want to leave Taylor without a mom, and I didn't want to leave Jordan without a wife. And so that was my like get up and go every single day. I never one time ever. No, yeah, it was hard. I never thought, okay, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I mean, I would have done anything for that. So no, there was no moment that I wanted to give up.
The next question was, how did you explain your diagnosis to your kids and family?
Okay. So I told in my story episode, the first episode of this month, how I told my family. It was very, it's not like, you know, when you're going to have a baby and you plan the perfect like reveal to your family. It was not like that. Like I said, I called my mom. She was at work. I called my mother-in-law. She was standing in the deli section of Publix ordering a sandwich. So that's how they knew. As far as Taylor, Stephanie gave me the best advice. And I don't know if you even remember this, but I think it was something that she had learned in an adoption group or maybe she had several friends that had had cancer before me, but somebody somewhere along the way told her to not make it like a sit down, something that they're going to remember forever. And do you remember this? Do you remember this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
yeah, I do.
When you said that to me, I was like, you know what? That makes so much sense because I did not want it to be anything that she remembered as an adult. I know she's going to remember like the last 2 years of our lives because it was a lot and it was different. It was different than what we're used to. I did not want this specifically to stick out in her memory. So I didn't want this like Full House moment where the music's in the background and you're sitting down on the couch and everybody's crying. I didn't want that. So one day we were folding towels and I just made it so casual and just like a normal conversation. And at the time she was 5. She was almost 6. And I said, Taylor, Mommy's sick. And she was just like in her little mind, like, oh, you know, you have a cold or whatever. And she just looks at me kind of funny, like, no, you're not sick. And I said, well, I've got some, I'd never said the word cancer. I never told her the realities of what cancer meant. I didn't go that route. I just said, I'm sick and I'm going to need you to be my big helper. And, you know, there's going to be days where I'm laying on the couch because I'm going to get this yucky medicine and it's not going to make me feel good. And so I'm going to need a really big helper. And I just put it like that to her. And she was just like, okay. And I mean, that was it. We were folding laundry. We went on and that was my way of telling her. But I made sure through all of it that she stayed at home. Whoever was staying with her while I was at treatment, she stayed here. I didn't want her like passed here, there, and everywhere. I didn't want it to be traumatic on her. So she stayed home and whoever was watching her would come here. And we tried to make it like fun. You know, they might take her to the park or Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. Like she didn't realize what was going on then. And even like recovery from my surgery, Derek and Steph came up and brought Mateo and they played out in the yard. And, you know, that was so fun for her. She thinks Mateo's coming to play with her, not like them coming to see me. She didn't realize that it was me. It was her. So anyways, I just made it very casual. I even told her, I don't know if it was that same day, but that's how I told her I was going to lose my hair because that was the part that stressed me out the most. Talking to her was like, how do you tell a 5-year-old that you're about to lose your hair? Because she was old enough. I know Emma talked in her story about her little girl. She was really too young to know, but I mean, that's a big deal for a 5-year-old. And I didn't want it to be scary for her. So I told her, one of the medicines that I'm going to take is probably going to make my hair fall out and I'm going to be bald. And she just looks at me so casually and she says, "Oh, like daddy." And at that time, Jordan actually had more hair than he does now, but he was starting to go bald. But, we always joke with him about being a bald man. And so that, it made me laugh. And so what would have been like a traumatic experience for she and I both, like that conversation, it kind of was lighthearted and that made it funny. And so she wasn't as traumatized when it actually happened. And in the next episode, I'm going to talk more about shaving my head and all that because I have funny stories that go along with that. So
I don't think you told her on that same day. I think that was part of my advice is don't tell her all at once, like, I'm sick, I'm going to be in bed, and I'm going to lose my hair.
No,
like,
I didn't.
Break it up. Yeah. That was something that I learned from adoption because it's like you don't want it to be like this sit down and we tell you you're adopted. You want it to just be like something that they gradually learned. Now that's hard because cancer is coming. I mean, the treatments were coming quickly, so it was kind of like you had to condense it, But it was the same idea.
Yeah, and I mean, that was the best advice. And I've even told people after that were diagnosed to just not do a sit-down talk because it makes it seem serious, which I'm not saying that cancer is not serious, but I didn't want her at 5 to know how serious it really was. And cancer was a part of her daily talk. I mean, she would say like, yeah, mom has cancer and is going to chemo. But to her, it was just like I was going to the grocery store to pick up some bananas. Like it was just normal for her. And I dread the days when she gets older and realizes, and I cringe still when people talk about having family that had cancer and died and I'm just like waiting on her to put it all together and realize what could have happened. Because to her, it was just like, it was just something that happened. It wasn't serious. And that was my goal. I wanted to keep it like that.
So the next question was, what's one thing you wish people understood about triple negative breast cancer specifically? So that type specifically.
Okay, so triple negative breast cancer does not feed off of hormones. It's negative for estrogen, progesterone, and what's the third one? HER2, which I don't even really know what HER2 is. Anyways, it's negative for all of those, which means triple negative breast cancer is environmental. And it stems from stress, which that could be a big factor of how or it's a cell that starts and then stress makes it grow. But plastics in the kitchen, like I had so much plastic in my kitchen, in the microwave, in the dishwasher. I never thought about it. I had heard people talk about it and just like would roll my eyes because I'm like, whatever. But that is a big, big, big deal. The drinking water in our area is horrific. So stuff like that, candles, scented plug-ins, all of that, what do they call it? Carcinogens, I think is the word. It's like the artificial smells and stuff. Any of that could, and I don't say this, and I don't even really talk about this a lot to scare people, but I have changed a lot of that because I wasn't sure which one of those, if any of those, was my cause for my breast cancer. I have no clue. And I'll never know. That's something my oncologist told me, like, we'll never know what caused it and which one of those fed it and made it grow. And it could have been all of them. It could have been none of them. I don't know. But that's another episode. It's going to come. The next episode is the healthy swaps that I've done. Triple negative is environmental. So it scares me so bad when I see people, and I don't say anything because I'm like, if they want to know, they'll come to me. But seeing the Bath and Body Works candles and all these scented, like crazy scented perfumes and lotions and dryer sheets and washing detergent, all this stuff, like, and I loved having a good smelling house. Our laundry, you could smell us coming from 4 miles away. People loved buying Taylor's clothes from me because they said that they smelled better than anybody else that they could buy them from. And now I don't. I use free and clear and make my own. And I'm like the crunchy mom that I never thought I would be. But once you have cancer, So triple negative specifically, that's it. It's environmental, and it sounds crazy. And I would roll my eyes at anybody that was saying this 3 years ago. I would have been like, just shut up and leave me alone. But It's serious.
So what advice would you give to somebody that's newly diagnosed?
So the advice that I would give, like, let's just say you just found out you're newly diagnosed. My number one advice is stay off Google. That was the first thing my oncologist said to me, and I wish I would have had him there with me the very first day that I thought that something might be wrong, because Google is so outdated, especially when it comes to triple negative breast cancer specifically. It's so outdated. And he told me the things that have progressed, like in science, since even 2018, it's insane the difference from then until now. So stay off Google, because it's a death sentence. If you go on Google, you're going to see all the negative things about it. You're not going to see any positive stories unless you really search for them. The second advice I would have is to just take it one day at a time and not think about the big picture, because when you sit down with your surgeon and or oncologist, they're going to tell you that the next year is going to be the hardest year of your life, and they're not wrong. You have 6 months of chemo, surgery, radiation. I mean, my treatment from beginning to end was about 15, 16 months. I can't remember total. It didn't feel that long because I tried to just take it one step at a time. I didn't want to think, okay, I'm going through this chemo. I've got to do this for 6 months, and then I have surgery, and then I have radiation. I just took it one step at a time, and it went by so much faster that way. I deleted social media from my phone, which you've heard us talk about it on the podcast. I do that frequently and do like detoxes, but I did that through my diagnosis into treatment. And at that point, I needed it for my mental sanity, because comparison is the thief of joy. And it absolutely killed me to see people. I was diagnosed through Thanksgiving and Christmas, seeing people out doing things with their families when I was not physically able to do that. That really hurt. And nobody that I followed was doing it to be mean to me. It hurt me to see that, to know, which at that point of my life, I didn't think that I would have another opportunity to do that with my family. So it was like, this is my last Christmas. This is what this is my last chance. And I did not want to see that. And you really realize really fast what's important and what's not. And I cared zero cares about social media at that point, because that was the least of my worries. I didn't care what anybody else was doing. I didn't care how they were living their life. I just was soaking up every second and every moment that I could with my own family. And that made a huge difference. And I think that's why I like doing those social media detoxes anyways. But I deleted all mine for several months, and I loved it. So the next one says, how did you prepare yourself for that first doctor's visit? And I talked a lot about my first appointments in my story, the mammogram and ultrasound, how naive I was. I felt like it was all going to be okay, so I went alone. Same with the biopsy, that lady and how big of a jerk she was. So after that, when I realized, okay, I probably should have somebody going with me, and my mom even told me, like, I was not to go to an appointment alone again after that. And so I took Jordan, my first official oncology visit. That was the first one after all those. I took a notebook and a pen. We recorded it on his phone. I kept up with questions before I went, because when you get there, you forget everything that you were going to ask before. So I had a note on my phone or a notebook that any question I thought of, I would add to that list. It was a running list, and every appointment, I know he hated to see me coming, because here I come with my notes. But we recorded the entire appointment on that one, because it's so much information. It is so much information. So we recorded it and could play it back to remember, what he said or what exactly I asked, and that helped a lot. But like mentally, you really can't prepare yourself for those appointments. But that's what I would do to prepare before.
When you heard the official diagnosis, what was the first thought that ran through your mind?
Honestly, I thought of Taylor and Jordan first. But in the other episode where I talked about where she called me and we were at the Mexican restaurant, I went out to the car to call her back. I guess that would be technically the first official diagnosis, because that's when I knew it was positive and this is really happening. I was sitting in the car and I was in the parking lot of the Mexican restaurant, but across the street, they're kind of connected to a McDonald's. I was sitting in the car facing the McDonald's drive-thru, and I could see the people like paying for their food, getting their food, going on about their life. And I'm hearing her say, it's positive. You're going to get a call from my office this week. You're going to come in next week and we're going to sit down and go over staging and all that. And I don't know. It's one of those things. And most people have heard bad news in their life before, whether or not it's a terminal illness or somebody died that's close to you. Like, it's kind of like the world just stands still for a minute and everything's moving in slow motion. It was just like, I don't know, like my world in my mind and my heart stopped. It absolutely just stopped spinning. But I'm looking out, watching these people at McDonald's, and like these people are laughing and they're joking and they're, carrying on, and they look like they're living their best life while my life has absolutely been turned upside down. And it's such a weird headspace. Like I said, it's kind of like everything's moving in slow motion. I walked back into the restaurant to tell Jordan, like, we need to go, let's go back home. But it's like everybody's moving on with they don't realize that you just got the worst news of your life. And I don't know, it's just so weird. It's such a weird place to be in because it's like everything's happening all at once, but then it's happening in slow motion. I couldn't really think of anything. I was like numb almost. I guess that would be the best way to say it. But once I could finally get my thoughts together, it was Taylor and Jordan, and how they were going to make it without me was really that was my first thoughts.
So what role did humor or hope play in those early days for you?
So my nurses told me from the get-go to find joy in the journey. And I thought that they were absolutely insane because how in the world are you going to find joy in something like this? But it was very hard, but I would try to be mindful every single day. I would look around and I would think of everything in my life that was good. And the more that I thought on that, and I would I guess I was praying out loud. Thank you, Lord, for this. Thank you, Lord, for that. Like everything good, the bad seemed smaller and smaller. Every time, like I would just focus more on the good. My family and their health, our house, our jobs, our cars. I mean, like things like that. When you focus more on the good, the bad kind of fades to the background. And I would do that all day. If I would start to think of like, oh Lord, here we go. I would start feeling overwhelmed by what was to come. Then I would start just trying to think on the good things instead. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but it helped a lot. And they would tell me to just be thankful and keep my head up. And when I went into the treatment room for the very first time, my first treatment, I was very overwhelmed. There's lots of people in there, and it was like little half partition wall things. So it's kind of an open room, but you have like very little privacy between. And everybody looked so sick and so pitiful. And I cried my way to the chair because I thought, like, this is what I'm going to look like in a few months. And I would try to find things to laugh about. And I listened to praise and worship music on Spotify. I had a Spotify playlist. And like I said, we alternated who came with me to treatment. So we would joke and laugh, and the nurses constantly would tell me that they fought over who was my nurse for the day because they knew it was going to be a fun time. And in a treatment room like that, there's not very many laughs going around. And so I would try, like Steph and I talk all the time on here about like either you're laughing or you're crying. And so I would try to find things to laugh about. And I really think that made it better because laughter is the best medicine. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's so true. But I mean, they would tell me all the time that like I was one of the only patients to ever laugh in that treatment room. And that's really sad to me. But I tried keeping it that way because I didn't want it to be depressing and blah. So we had a few questions for you too, playing your part in this. So the first one is, what do you wish people knew about supporting a friend with cancer?
I think I also talked a little bit about this in the first episode, but people now do come to me when maybe one of their close friends is diagnosed with cancer. But I always tell them the same thing, that it really depends on your friend's personality. So I think I also said that other people that had a friend with cancer would tell me to just stay the same. I don't know how to explain that, but you can't treat them differently, if that makes sense. I don't know how to put it like in a bow and neatly wrap it up, but don't treat them like
a cancer patient.
Right.
Because everybody in your entire world is treating you like this fragile little cancer patient, and you need normal.
Yeah. So they were like, if you would normally like make fun of her, you can't stop making fun of her. Like,
Oh, you didn't.
You can't.
You didn't let up on that.
Yeah. And so like I said, I don't know how to describe that. But when they were describing it to me, I knew what they were saying. Mm-hmm. They were like, if you would normally dump all of your problems on her, you're still going to have to dump all of your problems on her, or else she's going to know that you're doing it like somebody else. You're dumping it onto somebody else. Yeah. And she's going to feel like almost like you've abandoned her in that way. And I didn't really think of that. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought of it like, I'm putting more problems on you.
No.
But they're like, no, she's going to feel like you've abandoned her in that way. Like you don't see her like that.
Yeah, I absolutely would have felt like I was being replaced. I'm just going to be honest with you. I would have.
I was like, okay, that made sense. But I hadn't really thought of it like that. So that was like really good advice. So Shelby still got like okay, well, we've had enough of your problems. So let's talk about mine now. This is what's going on. If people even knew the times that I had called her, and she was probably so sick, but she would always say it was a distraction, so I just went with it.
It was. I remember one day specifically, I was laying in the bed, and I hadn't even got out of bed yet. It was like 2 in the afternoon, and you called me, and I don't even remember now what had happened, but you were like, okay, I just got to vent. And so I laid my phone beside me on the pillow, put it on speakerphone, and I just, I laid there with my eyes closed, just smiling so big. Like, I'm just so glad it's not me right now.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I would say the main thing is to, remain the same. It's not going to be exactly the same. Like, Shelby's normally here, there. I was actually thinking this yesterday. She's been on so many trips in the last, we'll say, 3-4 months. And I was thinking this feels strange, but not. Does that make sense? It's like normal.
It's the old normal.
The past normal.
The old normal's coming back. Yes. And I love it. Yeah. I'm so happy.
Because when she got off of her cruise the last time, I said, my first text to her was, I've lived 3 lives while you've been on this cruise. Where have you been? It was like, okay, the world's falling apart. And by the time she comes back, everything has changed. Yep. So, that's how it used to be. And
yeah, you just got used to me laying on the couch available for your beck and call.
Yeah. So now we're back to when she comes back, then she gets all of the cliff notes.
Yes.
So that was good. But I just think also recognizing that sometimes they're going to want to talk about it and sometimes they're not. I think it's still good to ask them how they're doing, but to make sure that you're not just always talking about it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I think I always was making a point to talk about the future things that we were going to do, it's not always going to be like this. Mm-hmm. And we were always planning something to look forward to. I think we talked about it. We went to 30A while she was in treatment. I don't remember if that was before what they call the Red Devil or after. Was it before?
It was between the last of my weekly, and then I started that next one the next week.
Okay. And then we went to Disney before she had her surgery. Mm-hmm. And so, we were always kind of planning little, I'm going to say little getaways. And when we were on the getaways, it wasn't like Shelby didn't have cancer. We weren't totally pretending that she didn't have cancer, but we were just
no,
I'm going to say celebrate.
Yeah, and we joke about all of our trips being celebration trips, but it really was. It was let's celebrate the end of this first chemo, then let's celebrate the end of chemo before surgery. And then Disneyland was let's celebrate the end of all of it. And it wasn't being oblivious to the fact of life. But I mean, you guys took advantage of my cancer wheelchair more than I did. So let's be real.
Hey, I was thinking about that just the other day. I was like, man, that's going to be sad when we don't have that wheelchair anymore. We were taking turns with that wheelchair. It was hilarious. And Jordan can't say anything because he had as much fun as we all did on that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Remember we looked over at Disneyland and he was like, "Vroom!" It was just like Jordan just went
Like spinning.
flying
He
by.
was spinning out on the wet concrete from the rain.
Yeah. Well, me and Derek were in a gift shop, and we just both happened to look outside, and Jordan just like it just went past, and like Shelby was nowhere around. It was just Jordan on the wheelchair, and we both just died laughing. We were like, we're having way too much fun with this wheelchair.
I mean, you got to find sunshine in the rain. There you go.
Yeah. But like I said, the trips were not like, oh, Shelby has cancer, let's go on this trip to like cheer her up.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't like doing it like that. It was like okay, Shelby got through the first part of chemo.
Yep. Let's celebrate.
Let's go celebrate. That was the mindset behind it. I think that mindset was better than just being like, okay, let's go down there because now she's got to do the Red Devil,
Yeah. So what are some good things to put in the You've Got Cancer cheer up basket? And I want to hear your input on this as the friend giving, and then I want to give input on like what I would like to have. I mean, like what I liked to get, and then now what I give. I actually just sent one off the other day for somebody that was newly diagnosed. So I want to hear both sides of this.
Well, this is funny because I actually just sent Shelby a TikTok last night. And what did it say? Something about when you're looking for your best friend's candy, but you only know the things that they hate.
Yeah.
Their latest drama.
Yeah. Their childhood trauma. I don't know.
Yeah. That made me laugh because so many people would text me and be like, what's Shelby's favorite snack? What's her And I would tell Derek, I'm like, I don't know. I know what she was upset about last week, but like, I don't remember like what her go-to snack was like at that time. And I'm going to say that I would tell people this. I think Shelby talked about being nauseous. So I would just try to tell them things that I remembered that she liked, but I would also tell them to be mindful and kind of almost think of it like if you were sending somebody a basket that had the flu because she didn't feel good. And so I was like, I knew that if people sent her, like she said that she liked Reese's, but I knew if people was sending her Reese's and then she was feeling nauseous, she was never going to want to eat those. Like it was going to be like, oh,
I wish they would have though. And I might be skinny again.
But that was my line of
yeah,
thinking. I knew that she was really nauseous. And I was thinking, if they keep sending the same things over and over, she's going to be tired of looking at it and she won't be able to eat it again. Yeah. So I remember telling them, like, she's also trying to eat a little cleaner right now. So maybe like some healthy things, I mean, you could put like, I would say, if you want to send her like a soft blanket or soft socks, things like that. I was like, I mean, she has blankets, but I'm sure she would appreciate another one because that was people's very first thing is, does she have enough blankets? I mean, do you ever have enough blankets?
No, and actually one of my close friends gave me a blanket that I use that as my treatment blanket. And I saw it in the basket the other day. It's at the bottom. And I was thinking like, ooh, like I really should probably get rid of this because it felt like... I don't know. I mean, I love that blanket. It was like a Barefoot Dreams dupe and it was amazing, but I use that for every single treatment. So now like that's kind of, that memory is tied to that blanket and it was at the bottom of the basket. But now I loved that and I loved having a specific blanket because it's in the hospital. I mean, the treatment, it's technically like to the side of the hospital, but still. It's gross. There's germs there. I liked having a specific blanket for that, and then I could wash it every week. But yeah, like the food side of it, that is amazing because even when I wasn't nauseous, like I would have 3 or 4 good days before the next treatment. I was very selective on what I ate because I didn't want, like you said, the Reese's. I love Reese's. If I could only choose one candy for the rest of my life, that's it. That's it. And I didn't want to ruin that. And so I was scared and I would even my meals when I wasn't feeling nauseous, I chose them selectively because I didn't want that to ruin it for me. So, and I loved getting flowers. And several of my friends and both sets of my grandparents, my mom sent me flowers several days because that's a safe bet. I was going through chemo through the winter, so there wasn't anything blooming, and having fresh flowers on the counter just, I don't know, it cheers me up. I love flowers. So I loved that because then you don't have to worry about the food side of things. And that's always an easy, safe bet too. So we talked about the blanket, fuzzy socks. I also, when I give cancer basket, cheer up baskets, I do a journal and pens because I journaled everything. I'm not a journaler. I wish I was, but I can talk and I can type all day, but when it comes to putting pen to paper and writing, I don't like it. But I did journal my entire cancer journey. I journaled every appointment, what went down, what was said. So I always include that in the gift basket, and then a cup to take with you to treatments because you have to hydrate so much to flush that chemo out. The more you can drink water, the quicker it's out and done. So I always send like a cute Stanley or a Walla, something like that. That is another good non-food gift idea also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the last question for you. Did you ever feel helpless, and how did you cope?
I don't know that I would say helpless. I think I felt depressed would be a good word. So I wouldn't say that it was helpless. I mean, who wouldn't be depressed? I think because everybody was trying to be so positive.
Mm-hmm.
I think I talked about that too. Like Jordan was trying to be positive, Polly, and he's normally not.
Yeah.
I think Shelby has said that before.
Yeah.
That he's normally not. Normally when something is going wrong, like I'm saying when we're on a trip, Jordan is the first to be like, well, like
told you so.
It's not going it's not going good, guys.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, if Jordan's going to be positive, Polly, I can be positive, Polly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, Jennifer, Shelby's mom, is always positive, Polly. But
yeah, and so because of that, it was not, I mean, I liked her being positive, but she's always positive. So I was like, okay, I could literally be on my deathbed and she would be like, you're going to pull through. I know you're going to make it. But I will say Jordan and Stephanie are the two most negative people in my life. And I say this with the most love for them. But them being positive, I'm telling you, it helped me. We have talked before about Stephanie texting me that and saying, only the good die young, so you're going to live forever. Like, this is not killing you because you're not good. And that, like, I'm telling you, like, them being positive was what I needed for that. Because I thought, okay, like, if they're positive about this, then I really do have what it takes to get this through, to get through this. So that helped a ton, them being positive. So
I think the part that was depressing for me was when you have like a friend that's really close, you want the best for them, but you also want them to be happy. You see that on like Instagram all the time. It's, what does it say? Like, it's important to find a friend that's like rooting for you and not like wants themselves to always be better than you. Yeah. How they word it. But I wanted Shelby to be happy, and I knew she was wanting to like expand her family. Like, I knew that she didn't want to be like in the bed sick. I knew that she was, I'm going to say, processing all of those things of like a new life. When you're watching somebody else, that part probably felt helpless because it's like, you can't really, there's no like fix. I couldn't fix that. Not even Jordan could fix that. Like, nobody could fix it. It just was what it was. And there's no way to like expedite Shelby processing that. And she probably still is processing it.
I do.
I mean,
every
it's
day.
probably going to take years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that part, I will say, is the helpless part because you feel like I can't fix it,
And
so
it's that way for a lot. Like, I have people really close to me that are struggling with infertility. And it's the same way with that. Like, you want to help them process, and I get that. Like, you want them to get what they want out of it. And so it goes hand in hand with that.
And like you said, just anybody that's infertile, you have that feeling for your friend. Like, I want this for you, but like there's nothing that I can do about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the biggest takeaway, like I'll say again, is I know that Shelby also talked about that, people like not reaching out. You don't want to bother them. Like you're thinking like, oh, she might be resting or whatever. But I would still even have Derek text Jordan sometimes and just be like, you know, Stephanie wants to know, how is Shelby really today? You know? And I assumed that he would probably ask her or, you know, tell her, you know.
He didn't.
So
no time ever. I never knew that.
Well, because I was like, you know.
Well,
like,
maybe
is she
after
home?
surgery. I think after surgery,
Yeah,
he
especially
did.
after surgery.
But like through treatments, if he ever did, if he told me, I forgot.
And, you know, however you would normally be, except for maybe not be negative. Maybe
Please,
put on the positive.
Yeah, please
Polly.
don't be negative. Even if you're like fake it till you make it kind of thing. And, you know.
Yeah. The only time that I was ever negative, I do feel bad about it, was when Shelby put on one of her wigs and she was like, how does this look? And I was like, it's giving Jill Duggar. And she's like, I'm never wearing this ever again. That was the only time that I was negative. But really, it was the headband that she was wearing with it. And it's like, if you know, you know.
Yeah. I need to see if I have that picture still. I'm going to put that up with us on Instagram because I'll have to do a side-by-side of that with Jill Duggar.
That's just what the first thing that came to mind. And I think we've talked about it before. Like, me and Shelby have bonded over our dislike of the Duggars. And so I just had to say it because it just.
Well, it was true.
But now, now we have sympathy for Jill. So.
All right. So thank you for sending your questions and trusting us to talk through them. We hope this episode gave you insight and encouragement. Next week, we're going to close out this series with some laughter, some real life swaps that I've made since diagnosis, and a reminder that joy still has place in the journey.